Hey, everybody, and welcome to Adapt or Perish, episode 119, Death on the Nile, finally marking our return to Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot. But before we board the boat, let's talk about our next episode. For episode 120, we're tackling a property that Ari's had on our list since the very beginning. We already took a close look at Frances Hodgson Burnett's A Little Princess in episode 89, but now we'll be turning our attention to The Secret Garden. Not only are we looking at big and small screen adaptations from 1949 to 2020, we're also tackling a musical, which is something we always look forward to. That'll be out in 1 month on Tuesday, November 1st. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections about today's episode or any others that you'd like to hear on the show, remember to email adaptorperishcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, we'd love it if you would share that with the world by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on Patreon at patreon.com/adaptcast. We've got a patron-only community and our monthly bonus show, Adapt or Perish Plus, with episodes releasing between episodes of this show. We hope you check it out. Show notes from this and all other episodes can be found at adaptorperishcast.com. And with that, on with the show, Adapt or Perish, episode 119, Death on the Nile. Hello and welcome to Adapt or Perish, a podcast about adaptation. I'm Jeremy Latour.
I'm Ari Lipshaw, and today we are going to be talking about Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile.
This is like legit one of those ones that many people have asked for.
Mm-hmm.
We've sometimes gotten like 2 or 3 emails in a row.
Literally
asking,
dozens.
Are you planning on revisiting Agatha Christie? I think maybe it's a good idea for you to do Agatha Christie. We've always wanted to do Agatha Christie. We always knew we would come back to Death on the Nile.
We were waiting for this most recent movie to be released, which it was.
Finally.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about its release now.
Okay.
Here at the top because it's not super important for the movie.
All right.
But I want to get this out of the way just to show you how long we needed to wait to do this one. So in 2017, Kenneth Branagh's Murder on the Orient Express came out. You've heard us talk about it. We did it back in episode... And then we thought, we can't wait for the sequel because we really enjoyed it.
We did.
So Death on the Nile was announced. We got excited. It was originally slated to be released December 20th, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Then it had production issues, and they delayed it until October 9th, 2020. But then this thing happened in 2020. I don't know if you remember it.
It wasn't good.
And then it was pushed back to October 23rd, 2020, then pushed back to December 18th, 2020, because like big movies kept coming out, and the studios were like, it's all normal. And the audiences were like, no, it's not. We're not going to see your movie in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
So they kept pushing it back. Then it was pushed to September 17th, 2021, after being completely pulled from the schedule. Like the studio said, no, we never.
Yep.
Never. Then September 17th, 2021. Then in March of 2021, it was moved to February of 2022.
Oh, boy.
And so it finally came out this year. We would have done Death on the Nile
like 2 years ago.
Like literally 2 years ago, but we had to wait for this. And then we took the summer off. So all of these things happened. And like in the meantime, multiple members of the cast have committed like career suicide. It's just a whole mess. We'll get into it later.
Great.
I say all of that to explain why we haven't done Death on the Nile sooner.
Yes.
But we're here.
We're here. We're ready for it. All right. I just want to, if I seem like slightly low energy for this recording session, I did have my bivalent COVID booster yesterday. I feel okay. I don't feel like it didn't like take me out, but I definitely am experiencing some mild body aches and fatigue.
You look like an invalid sitting on the lawn in front of a
sanatorium,
looking out at the ocean.
Yeah. Sipping my drink.
Got a big old blanket around
wrapped
you.
in a blanket.
It's
I'm
very
actually
sweet.
I'm actually a little too warm in this blanket. It's a very warm blanket.
It was really sweet. Last night we were putting Calvin down to bed, and he's almost 3, so he was doing his like, I'm crazy and I'm kicking around and stuff, like being goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And would he kick you in the arm?
Yeah, or hit me or something.
Hit you or kicked you, like totally accidentally,
yeah.
But right where you got your shot. And so of course you went, and he went, Mama, what did I do? And it was real sweet. And we talked to him about how your arm hurt. And then literally this morning he was like, where did I kick Mama? was like, you kicked her in the arm.
And today when I picked him up from school, he said, Mama, does your arm hurt? And I said, yeah, it does hurt. And he said, did I hurt you? I said, no, buddy, you didn't hurt me. It's okay. I got a shot. And then when you were getting him out of the car, he said, Daddy, did Mama get a shot? And you said, yeah.
It's real sweet.
So
he's turned into a little person.
yeah, he's real sweet.
But all of this to say, if you're getting through this episode and you're saying, man, Ari just doesn't sound like she's into it. Does she not like Agatha Christie?
I do.
Does she not like mysteries?
I do.
Does she not like fun?
I don't.
That's true.
I'm the enemy of fun.
But that's not why.
That's
not why you're kind of low energy.
I'm just
right
not
now.
feeling very well. So I'm speaking. I told my team today at work, I said I'm just going to be speaking in a chill ASMR manner to just try to conserve energy. And I think they appreciated it, actually. So that's where I am.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we first started the podcast, you definitely had like this NPR voice that you would you would do? Like if you go back and listen to like the first, couple episodes, like Jeremy's, I think I sound the same, but Jeremy sounds totally different.
No, I was trying to do something.
Yeah.
This is me, though.
No, this is fine. You can't like keep up a character for however many years.
No.
No.
So, okay, now
Yeah.
we gotta do some housekeeping right now.
Okay.
Something very important that we need to talk about. I'm gonna go ahead and say two things. One, if you have not listened to our episode on Murder on the Orient Express, I absolutely recommend listening to that first. And if you listen to that, in the beginning of the episode, we tell you very specifically, hey, if you haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express or read it, go do that because we're going to spoil everything.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, now we're getting layers deep in this.
Yeah.
Because I'm also going to tell you, if you have never seen any version of Death on the Nile nor read the book, you should stop this episode now and experience some version of it and then come back.
Unless you don't care.
Well, obviously, unless you don't care.
Right.
This is all assuming that you care. We're going to spoil everything.
Yeah, and immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
But also, we're probably going to spoil stuff about Murder on the Orient Express because we're going to compare the two stories.
Perhaps.
So I just want full warning, there's a lot of stuff that may get ruined today if you've never seen either of those.
All right. So, we haven't really done this in a while, but I seem to recall a segment called Back of the Book.
Yes.
And you are going to read the official plot summary of Death on the Nile.
Agatha Christie's most daring travel mystery. The tranquility of a lovely cruise along the Nile is shattered by the discovery that Lynette Ridgway has been shot. She was young, stylish, and beautiful, a girl who had everything until she lost her life. Who is also on board? Christie's great detective Hercule Poirot is on holiday. He recalls an earlier outburst by a fellow passenger. Quote, "I'd like to put my dear little pistol against her head and just press the trigger." Unquote. Despite the exotic setting, nothing is ever quite what it seems. I hate that back of the book.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
It's terrible back of the book.
It just really does not capture the spirit of the book or the film.
Well, I'll tell you exactly why I don't like it. And the other thing, too, is I'm holding the box now for the 1978 version. It also does something that I really hate. As Poirot, this is the second sentence, as Poirot enjoys a luxurious cruise down the Nile, a newlywed heiress is found murdered on board and every elegant passenger becomes a prime suspect. I kind of hate that both of those tell you who gets murdered.
Yeah, because in the book, it's chapters. It's like fully chapters of the characters being introduced, and you don't actually know who's going to get murdered. Like, if you don't know the story, you have no idea.
Yeah, that was like my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, which was like kind of similar to Murder on the Orient Express that I had never heard or seen or read or anything, and like was actually surprised by the plot twist, which was they all did it.
I told you we were going to spoil everything.
Yeah. I was reading it for the first couple chapters, and I was like, wow, I actually don't know which of these people is gonna become murdered. That was a fault, I thought, of a couple of the movies that we watched that made it very clear from the get-go who was the main character. You don't even really know who the main character is from the beginning of the book. The characters are all kind of introduced almost equally, and so you don't really know who's going to be murdered or who's going to be the main character until it happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of masterful.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I loved the book. Like, I enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express. I enjoyed the book. This one grabbed me so much quicker. Like, this was a page turner like that one wasn't. I finished this one before you, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, like I was really, really into it.
You kept coming to me and giving me some like updates, like the body count's adding up. Do you want me to spoil it for you? And I'd be like, no, stop, go away. But you just wanted to talk about. You desperately wanted to talk about it with somebody.
Yeah. And now we finally finished, and now we're here.
Yeah, here we are. This is your opportunity.
This book's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of love not knowing anything about it. I love that it's like half of the way through before Lynette gets shot. And then you think, well, that's the death on the Nile. It's in the title.
There's 2 more deaths.
There's 2 more. I didn't expect
on the Nile.
it. I didn't expect a body count.
Multiple deaths on the Nile.
I loved this book. It was super fun. I love the way everything progressed. I love the reveal. Do you want to just talk about the reveal for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Like, who done it?
Who done it?
I mean, should we do a plot synopsis first?
Let's work our. Here's what I think we can do. I think we can kind of work our way through the characters. I would like to go kind of least important to most important, because then by the time we get to our central 3 or 4 folks, we'll be able to kind of introduce the plot.
Sure.
So set the scene. We are in Egypt. We're all we've been introduced to these characters sort of making their way to Egypt, and we've actually had a little bit of a flashback to something that happened about 6 months ago, which I'll get to momentarily.
I don't even think it's 6 months.
It's a few months, a couple months ago. But everyone has made their way to Egypt. This cast of characters has gathered. They're all in a hotel, and they are all going to take this luxury river cruise down the Nile from one city to another city, stopping along the way to see various ancient ruins and temples and things like that. On the boat, we have, going again from sort of least important to most important, we have Dr. Bessner. He is the Austrian doctor. He is not really a suspect in the murder. Similar to Murder on the Orient Express, there's a doctor who's like not a suspect.
Yeah.
But he is the one who is caring for the injured and or dead people as the plot progresses.
But he's ruled out as a suspect like pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly. He has a rock hard, airtight alibi.
Rock solid alibi.
Rock solid alibi.
Airtight, rock solid.
There is
airtight. No, it's airtight.
Jim Fanthorpe, the lawyer. Honestly, don't remember much about him. And the other,
can I tell you, a gun to my head?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have remembered that he's even a character in the book.
There's one more.
That's the other thing. I literally think I said this exact same thing when we did Murder on the Orient Express.
Who the hell is that?
Over the course of this episode, if we get a character name wrong, we might get a little mixed up because there's the book, and then all 3 movies take some liberties and move things around a little bit, so we might get a little confused. What I'm saying is, don't correct us.
Don't at us.
Yeah.
Don't tell us.
Only correct us if we say something really bad.
Yeah. And then the other character who I didn't really remember from the book was Guido Ricchetti.
I remember Ricchetti.
Who is an Italian.
Yeah.
On the boat. He's not very major. Okay.
He's being Italian.
We have Mr. Ferguson. He is a communist or socialist who's trying to foment ideas. Why he is on this luxury river cruise is unclear.
Unclear at the beginning.
But it becomes clear because he's actually rich.
Is that in the book? I thought he was the arms dealer. Or is Ricchetti the arms dealer?
No, Ricchetti I think is the arms dealer.
I thought Ferguson was the arms dealer.
Don't even worry about it. It doesn't matter. It is a red herring inconsequential to the plot. Okay. We have rich Mrs. Marie Van Schuyler. We have her niece and companion, Cornelia Robson, and her nurse, Miss Bowers. Mrs. Van Schuyler is this old, rich woman, and her nurse kind of like bosses her around. And what we learn is that she doesn't really need a nurse. What she needs is essentially a police officer to keep her from stealing jewelry. She is a kleptomaniac jewel thief, which becomes important to the plot. We have another jewel thief on board. We have Tim Allerton.
But a professional
jewel thief. We have Tim Allerton and his mother, Mrs. Allerton. And there's this whole red herring plot with jewel thievery, where it looks like at one point like Lynette Doyle was perhaps murdered for her famous pearls. And it turns out that Tim and his friend, who is not on the boat, have sort of a whole racket going on where they make a copy of some statement piece of jewelry, steal the real one and replace it with a copy, like at some house party or intimate event.
But what Tim doesn't count on is that Miss Van Schuyler's on the boat, who is the kleptomaniac.
Yes.
And steals the copy.
Right. So now there's 2 sets of pearls. One is the real pearls, one is the fake pearls. Poirot discovers all of this sort of, again, as a bit of a red herring and is like, this is unimportant. Why don't we just throw the fake pearls overboard, replace them with the real pearls, promise never to do this again, and we'll just pretend none of this ever happened.
Yep.
And Tim is like, great, I will never steal another jewelry in my life. We have Salome Otterborn, the acclaimed romance author. She writes kind of sexy romances.
Now, she's based on someone, isn't she?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I found
it feels like she might be.
Yeah, like I actually think she's Agatha Christie throwing shade at somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly. Here's the thing.
Unclear who.
We're not here to talk about who Agatha Christie might have had beef with.
Yeah.
But of all the characters in the book, this one definitely feels like Aggie had like something to say about a specific person.
Sure. So we have Salome Otterborn again, the sort of over the top.
She's terrible.
She's terrible. And then her daughter, Rosalie Otterborn, who does her best to keep her mother in line. The big dark secret, of course, is Salome Otterborn drinks. Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're down to our sort of main characters here. So I want to describe the relationship here. We have Lynette Ridgway, or Lynette Doyle, née Ridgway, who is the wealthiest heiress in Britain.
Also the prettiest.
Which is good to be both. It's good to be the king. She has just bought this large estate, which she plans to live on by herself, and at a mere 20 years of age. She has not yet actually come into her whole fortune, which she will attain when she is 21. But she's a rich heiress. The problem is that her father, from whom she inherited these many, many millions of pounds,
stands to inherit.
Well, he's not alive, right? Isn't that why she's so rich?
Well, she hasn't inherited. I thought she hasn't inherited everything yet because she's not 21.
She hasn't inherited like the bulk of the fortune, but she certainly has like a great deal of money to live upon.
Yeah.
But her father is not alive, which is why she's so rich. But the problem is
I was pausing to take a sip of my drink, not pausing to like try to tell you. No,
for dramatic effect.
I think you got that wrong.
The point is that he made his many, many millions basically by screwing people over. So there are a great number of people who dislike this family rather intensely because they were brought to ruin by Melhuish Ridgway, which is
a great name.
A great name.
And also, apparently, he screwed over so many people that the odds of any of them being on this boat are pretty good.
Pretty good. Like it's not so much of a coincidence. So Lynette has this friend from school, Jacqueline de Belfort, who was sort of seems like she was always kind of second fiddle to Lynette. But Jacqueline or Jackie comes to her one day and says, "Hey, Lynette, I have great news.
This is the thing that happens
months before. I'm in love." And Lynette's like, "Great." And Jackie's like, "Well, there's a problem. We don't have any money, and he doesn't have a job. Can you give him a job managing your estate?" And Lynette is like, "Well, yeah, sure. I guess I can do that." And Simon Doyle enters the picture, immediately has eyes for no one but Lynette.
And Lynette immediately says, "I'm going to climb that man like a tree."
Yes. And Jackie is left out in the cold, as it were. They have a whirlwind courtship and are now on their honeymoon in Egypt.
Which, by the way, fuck you, Lynette.
Yeah.
Because you got that idea from Jackie.
Yeah.
Because she literally told you how she was going to marry Simon and go on a honeymoon in Egypt.
Right.
And now it's like, you keep saying months, isn't it? It's literally like 6 weeks.
Yeah, like weeks to months.
Yeah.
On this extravagant honeymoon trip with them is Lynette's maid, Louise Bourget, an important character, who also hates Lynette. Everyone hates Lynette.
Mm-hmm.
And her American sort of guardian or trustee of all of these millions that she has not yet come into, Andrew Pennington, Uncle Andrew, who we learn has perhaps committed some malfeasance with some of her funds.
Yeah. It's amazing he's there. Like, it's total coincidence that they ran into him. Total coincidence.
The other person, totally coincidentally, who's there on the boat is Jackie de Belfort, who has been sort of chasing them around the world and will not leave them alone.
Basically, she and Pennington are there for the exact same reason, except she didn't lie about why she's there.
Right. She's like, "Oh, no, I'm here to fuck with you."
Yeah.
Like, just so you know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stand here and stare at you on your honeymoon, and I have also purchased a ticket to this boat. So, fuck you.
They thought they faked her out at the hotel. They didn't think she even knew about the boat.
She did.
She knew about the boat.
Found out somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Final two people on the boat, very important. Hercule Poirot, the world's greatest detective.
This is so nice for Race that you're saving him for last.
Well, I was just going to say, and his friend. His buddy, Colonel Race, who he likes to bounce ideas off of, is also there.
Mhm.
If you remember in Murder on the Orient Express, he also had a friend who was not a suspect, his friend Book. And thus, the chess pieces are all there.
I have a question.
Yes.
I feel like you've left out just one small important thing.
What the heck happens?
No. Actually, a small important thing.
Okay.
We talked about people who are there with ulterior motives. You did not mention that Race is there with ulterior motives.
Race is there with ulterior motives because he is investigating Pennington, who he thinks may be embezzling from Lynette Doyle, and he was put on the scent. Lynette Doyle has British trustees. Nope.
You're thinking of the 1978 movie.
Nope. Okay. All right.
In the 1978 movie, David Niven works for Lynette's English lawyers.
Okay.
In the book, Race is investigating an arms dealer.
Okay.
A secret arms dealer who
All
is
right.
on the boat, who is either Ferguson or Richetti. We can't quite remember.
But Jim Fanthorpe is on the boat investigating Pennington then.
Yes.
Someone is on the boat investigating Pennington.
But it's not Race.
Okay, it's Fanthorpe.
Yep.
It's Fanthorpe. Okay. I'm very sorry. My deepest apologies. Do you know what? It does not matter.
No, it really doesn't.
So, everybody's on the boat. Some are happier than others to be there. Some are not. But everyone's on the boat. They're doing this sightseeing tour. If you've ever been on a cruise, right? Like they're going down the river and they're stopping off at various places.
Also, now that all the characters are placed, I just want to say really quickly, like before they even got to the boat, Poirot has met everybody. He's talked to Jackie. He's talked to Lynette. He's talked to Simon.
Yeah, they're like, this woman's following us. Is there anything you can do? Poirot's like, no. And then he goes to Jackie and he's like, you should not do this. And she's like, fuck you. And
also,
he's like,
I have
all right.
a gun.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Sometimes I think about literally shooting Lynette in the head.
Great. Fantastic. So, like I said, the cards are laid. An incident happens. A foreboding incident. They get to this place called the Temple of Abu Sindel. And Symbol. They're all walking around. Lynette and Simon are looking at stuff, and this rock falls from above and almost crushes them. Doesn't, misses, but it's very terrifying and
highly suspect.
Highly suspect because as I believe Poirot or someone says, like that rock has been there for 4,000 years. Why would it choose to fall right now at this moment in time? That would be very strange.
I don't think that was in the book, but I think it was either Peter Ustinov or David Suchet who said it.
Something about the rock being there for 4,000 years. Anyway, so this shakes everybody up and puts it into Lynette's head that someone is trying to kill her which
is crazy.
Because someone is. So everyone's a little shaken up by this incident, but they think no more about it. Perhaps it was truly a genuine accident. Everyone goes back to the boat that night or some subsequent night. The real meat of the events take place. Here's what happens. Everyone is hanging out. It's very late at night. There are some people in the bar. Lynette has gone to bed because Jackie's there being annoying. Simon is like, I will meet you later. And also in the bar are Jackie and Ferguson and Rosalie. There is a bit of an altercation and Jackie shoots Simon in the leg. There is an uproar. She is conveyed to Miss Bowers' room, who gives her a shot of morphine that puts her to sleep because she is in hysterics. And
feels terrible about it.
Feels real bad.
The second she shoots him, she's just like,
God.
Oh,
I did not want to do that.
This is terrible. I want to be dead too.
Yes. So she is under the care of a trained nurse and some drugs. They go get the doctor, Dr. Bessner, and Simon is now under the care of a doctor and some drugs and is also shot in the knee. And the doctor's like, look, I've done the best I can for him. He will probably die. We got to get him, to an actual hospital. They keep saying, like, he's got to have an x-ray. He's got to have an x-ray. Like, okay,
That's a really long time ago.
The x-ray will do nothing. You just got to keep him, whatever. In the meantime, everyone's like, well, that's a terrible incident. This is a terrible thing that happened.
And who did not witness this incident?
Hercule Poirot did not witness this incident because, as we later learn, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, his champagne was drugged, and so he slept soundly, like a baby, through the entire incident. So we wake up the next morning. Oh, of course. Well, this is the worst thing that has happened on the boat. Nothing could be worse than this. Louise Bourget goes to her mistress's room with her breakfast and discovers that the young lady is dead. She has been shot at point blank range in the temple and is dead.
The most amazing thing, too, in her own blood, she scrawled the letter J on the wall above her bed.
Which Poirot immediately is like, well, this was a stupid thing for the murderer to do.
Yeah.
Like, not even for 1 second is he like, oh, it must have been. Because Jacqueline de Belfort, of course, is immediately ruled out as a suspect because she was asleep under the influence of morphine and a nurse was with her the entire evening.
Yeah.
Suffice it to say, I'm not going to go into the intricate details of every point of the investigation. Poirot investigates. He talks to everybody. There's stuff that goes on.
Further deaths.
Louise Bourget wakes up dead.
Well, she gets stabbed. And Poirot figures out, like, I actually do kind of want to describe a little bit of this. So Poirot figures out that she must have seen the murderer and was blackmailing the murderer.
Whoever that may have been.
Right? And then the murderer killed her.
Yes.
Then Salome Otterborn comes to... He's sitting, like, with Doyle and Race, and she comes in and she says... And she is this dramatic idiot who just waltzes through life
dramatically.
And she's like, I know who killed Louise Bourget. So, therefore, I must also know who killed Lynette Doyle.
Mm-hmm.
And right before she can tell them, she's shot in the head.
Dramatically.
Very dramatically. And they all race outside, but they don't see the gun person.
The gun person.
And there's all sorts of suspicions because there's a tiny gun and blah, blah, blah. And now, as you said before, the pearls... Giant red herring.
Huge red herring.
But there is one piece of physical evidence that is found that confounds many. The murder weapon is gone.
Yes.
So they decide they're going to dredge the Nile around the boat. They find a shawl wrapped around a gun and a handkerchief that is red.
Yes.
And this is weird for everybody.
Yes.
Because they're all like, well, why the shawl? Well, the shawl was to muffle the shot. But
2 shots were heard.
But also... They know that it wasn't used because Lynette had scorching on her head, so clearly it wasn't muffled, which is very confusing.
And the other shooting was witnessed.
Yeah.
And yet there's bullet holes in this cloth.
And also, why would the murderer throw the gun overboard?
Yes.
What reason would they possibly have to do that? And what's the deal with the handkerchief?
Yes.
And everybody finds it all very confusing. Even Poirot. I really enjoyed Poirot's investigation in this because he's so frustrated all the time that it's not fitting together.
Yeah.
And then finally he figures it out.
Yes.
But I love how vocal he is with Race the entire second half of the book about just how frustrating this is.
He's like, I didn't, my friend, I do not know. The little gray cells, they're not as young as they used to be, I suppose.
As I recall, he does not say little gray cells once in the book.
I don't know.
Which is a miss.
Yes.
Like,
you gotta have the little gray cells.
If you add little gray cells at any point in the script, if you're adapting it, what you're doing is you're fixing an oversight.
Right. On dear Agatha Christie's part.
Yeah.
Dear Dame Agatha. Okay. May I reveal the ending?
All I'm saying is, whoever you're going to reveal, the only thing I know is that Jackie didn't have anything to do with it because she is absolutely beyond suspicion at this point.
Incorrect. Cornelia did not have anything to do with it. I'm going to go up from the bottom. Mr. Ferguson. Communism was just a red herring. Miss Bowers had nothing to do with it. Cornelia Robson had nothing to do with it. Mrs. Van Schuyler had nothing to do with it.
She did steal the fake pearls.
She did steal the fake pearls, but that was a red herring.
And Miss Bowers returned the fake pearls, not knowing they were fake.
Tim Allerton and his mommy had nothing to do with it. The Otterborns...
Except Tim Allerton did steal the real pearls, and Poirot has said, no, never again, and you will put them back.
Yes. Salome Otterborn, nothing to do with it. The buying liquor from someone on the boat, just a red herring, and maybe being dramatic. You know, she could have just slipped him a note, but that's not her way.
Also, she's dead.
Andrew Pennington, now, in the book, did he push the boulder? Okay.
Yeah.
So he did push the boulder, but he did not do any of the actual murders.
Well, yeah, because he was a bad boy.
Yes.
And he was embezzling.
He was a naughty boy.
He was very, very naughty, and he was doing bad things, and he knew that as soon as Lynette came into her inheritance, she was going to find out.
Yes.
So he was like, okay, well, I got a whole bunch of different things I can do. One of the things I'll try to kill her.
Yes.
And it fails, and he feels bad about it.
So it turns out that the whole thing was a plot between Simon Doyle and his former and possibly current lover.
No, his former and definitely current.
Former and definitely current lover, Jackie de Belfort. It was all a ruse. Here's what really happened. She shoots the gun. In one of the movies, it's like she shot him with a blank. Like, no, it's a bullet. She just didn't shoot him. She intentionally missed. He pretends to be shot. The other characters get her out of the room.
He's got a handkerchief that's red because he had nail polish.
Nail polish in the red handkerchief. The other characters get her out of the room. In the time it takes for them to go deal with her and go get the doctor, he grabs the gun from where it was kicked under the chair.
Simon does.
Runs down the hall.
Because he has two working legs.
Because he has two working legs. Because he, like I said, at this point, everyone thinks he's shot, but he's not shot. Runs to his own room, shoots his wife in the head, which fucking sucks.
Decides to ad-lib a bit.
Does a really fucking dumb thing, which is to write a J in blood with her finger. Why? No one knows.
Well, Jackie even calls it out later as like evidence of him being kind of dumb.
Yeah.
She's like, he's just a big dummy, and he could never have done anything like this on his own.
Yeah.
Look at that dumb
J.
thing he did
Who
with the
would do
J.
that? No one
Who
would
would
do
do
that.
If he had asked me, I would have told him not to.
Yeah. Runs back to the saloon, wraps the gun to muffle it in a shawl, shoots himself in the knee, which, again, like, fucking sucks, throws the gun overboard, and then makes it back to the sofa where he's like, I'm shot, I can't move, in time for everybody else to come back to the room and provide him with an alibi.
Aha, all is revealed. How amazing is Hercule Poirot?
Upon the discovery of all this, as they're being removed from the ship, about to go into custody, Jackie produces a second gun, shoots Simon, and shoots herself, thus adding to the body count of the book. Poirot admits that he knew there was a second gun.
Is that in the book?
Yes, it must have been, because it was in the Wikipedia summary that I got a lot of this from. I want to be clear. I'm not reading the Wikipedia summary. The only thing I got from Wikipedia were the names of the characters, but I did note that. And that's the end. That's the plot. Poirot solved the mystery, failed to save anyone's life. His job, I guess, is not so much to act as to reveal.
Yeah.
The world spins madly on, and he knows what's happening. He just doesn't really... His job is not to prevent the crime from happening. His job is only to reveal what happened.
I just like to think, because I don't have a ton of experience with Agatha Christie, and I am sure, I would even go so far as to say, I'm sure the majority of Poirot mysteries are someone has been killed. All of these people are suspects.
Yes.
But one of them did it.
Yes.
But it's interesting to me that, like, the two most popular ones to be adapted are, well, turns out everyone did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is, oh, someone did it, and it's the person you absolutely knew could not have done it.
Yes.
Like, there's a twist in both of them.
There's a twist.
Because it just finding out that it was someone that did the murder, that's not a twist.
Yeah.
But finding out that it couldn't possibly have happened the way you expect, that's a twist.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently there are a number of stories like this. I think the story where, according to Wikipedia, where we last saw Colonel Race was like at a dinner party where someone ended up murdered, and it was clearly someone at the dinner party that did the crime.
Apparently there's tons of references in this book to like other I mean, there's a reference to Murder on the Orient Express in it too.
Yeah. Was there?
Yeah. I can't remember what it was,
Fair.
but I know there's a reference in it.
All right. Is there anything else? I mean, intricately plotted, fascinating.
Super fun.
Like really, like Agatha Christie, what a talent.
Super fun. Slow burn. Loved it.
Loved it. Anything else you want to say about the book before we move on to the adaptations?
No, read it.
Yeah.
Read it. It's super fun. I liked it more than Murder in the Orient Express.
There it is.
So that was 1937 that the book was originally serialized and then released.
Yes.
And then in 1978, only 41 years later, there was a movie. Now,
star-studded cast.
Yeah, star-studded cast. Now, the important thing about this is that this is a sequel. This is a sequel to the 1974 Murder on the Orient Express, which was a really big hit that was directed by Sidney Lumet and starred Albert Finney as Hercule Poirot and was a very star-studded cast.
It's weird that it's a sequel when Poirot is a different actor.
I mean, the thing is, I think the producers wanted to get the band back together.
Yeah.
But for a number of reasons, basically everybody said no.
Yeah.
Like, Albert Finney apparently said, I don't want to go through all that makeup and wear all the clothes if we're going to be in Africa.
That's fair. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, fair.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
And you know what? In keeping with the character of Hercule Poirot.
A bit fussy.
Yeah. So they had to scramble, and they got different writer, different director, different Poirot. Let's talk about them in that order. New writer, Anthony Shaffer.
Yes, not to be confused with his brother, Peter Shaffer, also a playwright.
Peter Shaffer, most well known for writing, what would you say?
Well, Peter famously wrote Amadeus, he wrote Equus, and he wrote a play called Lettuce and Lovage specifically for Maggie Smith, which is fun because she's in this.
Mm-hmm.
He did write the screenplay for Amadeus, which won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture.
I mean, Amadeus is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he wrote Amadeus. He wrote Amadeus.
His brother Anthony.
I'm
going to throw out 3 things that he wrote that people might be familiar with. wrote the screenplay for The Wicker Man, which is a heck of a movie, wrote Frenzy for Alfred Hitchcock, and wrote Sleuth, and I guess a number of other mysteries. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, kind of deconstructions of the mystery genre were something that he did quite a lot of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yes.
Directed by John Gillerman. Now, John Gillerman did a few different movies. He did many different movies, but I'm going to name 3 right now. And they're all kind of appropriate in their own way. Like, I'm going to tell you these movies, and I think you're going to say, for various reasons, this is the guy you want to get to direct Death on the Nile.
Okay.
Star-studded cast, event movie,
Hmm?
directed King Kong, 1976.
Oh,
Which
God.
we've covered on this show.
It was terrible.
Yeah, but star-studded event movie.
I mean, sure.
More star-studded, more of an event, The Towering Inferno.
Okay.
Also, let me check my notes. 1978, this is a movie about Hercule Poirot, who's he's a private detective.
Okay.
He's not a police officer.
Yeah.
Going to Africa
Right.
and solving crimes there, right? Gillerman, 5 years earlier, directed another movie about a private detective who goes to Africa.
Okay.
1973, Shaft in Africa.
Great. Fantastic.
And I just think, you're looking at this resume, of course you're going to get John
God.
Gillerman. Because,
So a hack is what you're saying.
no, yes.
A bit,
Obviously,
a bit.
a hack who can work with actors. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. Just finding out that he directed Shaft in Africa, it just delights me
Just
to no
A
end.
working director. I mean, I don't mean to put any stank on a hack. To me, a hack just means a working director
Totally.
that takes what job he's given.
Yeah, in my mind, there is a spectrum of private detectives, and at one end is Shaft, and on the other end is
It's
Hercule Poirot.
Yeah.
Very happy about it. And then they got Peter Ustinov to play Poirot, and he's the big change.
Yeah.
He's the guy, and he went on to play Poirot a bunch of times. Like,
Mhm.
there were TV movies, theatrical movies, some not received as well as this one was.
Now, what did you think about Peter Ustinov? Maybe this is an unfair comparison, but what did you think about him compared with Albert Finney?
I didn't like Peter Ustinov as much as I liked Albert Finney.
Mm-hmm.
For, like, one big reason. I think Albert Finney was playing Hercule Poirot. I think Peter Ustinov was playing Peter Ustinov.
Sure.
And the thing is, those are both valid choices. Because if I were directing a movie with Peter Ustinov in it, and Peter Ustinov came to me and said, just so you know, I'm just going to play myself,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, well, then we're going to have a fine movie on our hands, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, those are valid choices. I like Finney's portrayal of Poirot more than Ustinov.
I mean, nothing in this movie that Peter Ustinov does even comes close to I must speak to the maid and the penguin walk. That 3 seconds is just such brilliance. Nothing comes close. And I did not I thought he was fine.
I mean, he's Peter Ustinov. He's great. He's charismatic and magnetic.
Yeah.
He's super fun to watch.
He wasn't as Poirot-y for me. Of the 3 Poirots we saw for this episode, I felt that he inhabited the character the least.
Which is weird because he seemed to define the character for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I guess this is a Sherlock Holmes thing. That's like, who's your Poirot? Because
Yeah.
it's David Suchet for me, and I think for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah, and actually Kenneth Branagh a little bit because I think he's so good.
Yeah.
I know his performance is controversial. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I love it. I think it's great.
I want to watch so many more movies with Kenneth Branagh as Poirot.
Yeah.
And nothing in Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile has convinced me otherwise. But we can talk more about it
I
later.
just think it's a character in search of a good. I think it's a portrayal in search of a good movie. I'm sorry, we're skipping ahead a little bit, and we'll come back to it. I just think the interpretation of the character is. I'm sorry. I know this is controversial because I know a lot of people didn't like it. I think it is brilliant.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
But I mean, getting to the bigger point,
yes.
Poirot is one of those characters where I think there is a tremendous amount of space for many different actors to play the character and
Yes.
bring their own spin.
Much like Sherlock Holmes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like a detective, for whatever reason, it has that leeway somehow.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk about the rest of the cast, though?
Yeah, it's definitely star-studded, not as star-studded again as Murder on the Orient Express.
I would say studded rather than filled.
Yeah. And actually, this gets to another thing that I wanted to talk about, too, is I don't know what you felt about it, but I felt like some of the performances in Orient Express kind of blew us away.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like any of the performances, save one or two, blew us away in this one.
2, for sure, 2.
What I'm saying is, in Orient Express, I feel like everyone across the board was amazing.
Yeah.
In this one, it's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, it was definitely hit or miss. There were some weird accents. There was some uneven acting for sure.
Maybe we run through everyone. Here's what I'd love to do.
Okay.
You came up with a great list before.
Yeah.
We went bottom to top.
Okay.
I say we just do that again.
Great.
But let's talk about those people in this movie.
Okay, let's do it. Dr. Bessner.
Played by Jack Warden, as many of you may know as the grandfather in Problem Child.
Fantastic.
And many other things. He is just this
He's pretty funny.
very American guy being pretty funny and doing a kind of okay German accent.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's not that good.
Jim Fanthorpe, sir, not appearing in this film.
Sir, not appearing in this film, I do believe.
Guido Rossetti, sir, not appearing in this film.
Yep.
Mr. Ferguson?
Ferguson is in it. John Finch as James Ferguson.
Okay.
I don't remember him.
I don't remember him. We'll move on.
Sorry,
Okay.
John.
Well, we're about to come to one of the two performances that I felt blown away by, which is Miss Bowers.
Okay. I wasn't ready for this. Were you ready for this?
Was I ready for Maggie Smith to be real sexy in this movie? No, I was not ready.
I was not ready for it.
I was not ready for Maggie Smith wearing a tuxedo in this movie.
She's so beautiful in this movie. She looks so good. And
I was not prepared.
And she's also Maggie Smith still.
Yeah, like she still has her Maggie Smith voice.
And she's got a wicked sense of humor. And the thing about it that's so funny is that she's playing opposite the Miss Van Skyler character, who is this grand old dame, like
this relic.
Like that's who Maggie Smith plays.
Yeah,
but
right.
no, she's the young Bowers.
Yes,
and
still
she's
the middle-aged Bowers. Like, let's not get too carried away.
Compared to Van Skyler is what I'm saying. She's hilarious. She's beautiful. She is wearing a tuxedo for a lot of the movie, as you say. I was really disappointed too. Like, I thought she was coded as gay.
Well, she is coded as gay,
but then
they just had to drop a line in to say, "Never mind, we were just kidding." Like, that's the fact that they put one line in at the end to make her quote straight doesn't make her less coded as gay for the whole movie. They just had to have some plausible deniability.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Maggie Smith,
incredible. She's incredible.
We were both real excited about. Cornelia Robson.
Now, Cornelia often doesn't make the movie.
Yes.
And because sometimes, like, I think just in the David Suchet one, Miss Van Skyler is traveling with her niece and Bowers.
Right.
But in this one, she's just with Bowers.
Right. So Rosalie kind of takes the part of that character.
Yeah.
The young ingenue. Okay, so we'll come to her in a minute. Tim Allerton and Mrs. Allerton? They're in this, right?
They are not in this.
They're not in this.
The whole Pearl thing?
There's no jewel thievery. Yeah.
Gone.
Well, there is jewel thievery, just not from them. Mrs. Van Skyler still steals the jewels.
Does she?
Well, wait, we haven't even talked about Mrs. Van Skyler yet.
This is a good one.
Mrs. Van Skyler is Betty Davis. Amazing.
She's fine.
I just thought it was funny when she and Maggie Smith were like walking together, and I was like, man, they found the one person that is shorter than Maggie Smith to be like to play opposite her.
I want to be clear. When I say she's fine, I mean her acting is fine. Her being there and being Betty Davis is 100%.
Oh yeah, she's 100%.
100% wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
Fantastic quote from her about making this movie. Can I read it to you now?
Yes, of course.
I'm not going to try to... Can you do a Betty Davis impression?
Absolutely not.
Okay. In the older days, they'd have built the Nile for you. Nowadays, films have become travelogues and actors' stuntmen.
So she was complaining about having to go to Egypt.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I think it's beautiful.
Well, she was like $1 million at this time.
Still great.
Yes. So she does steal the jewels. Miss Bowers returns them, but there's no like Tim Allerton fake jewels plot.
It's a red herring, but it's not the red herring that it is in the book.
Yeah. So we have Rosalie Otterborn. She is in this.
Mm-hmm.
That's Olivia Hussey.
Yeah.
Looking very pretty. 10 years after Romeo and Juliet, still only like 26. Do you have anything else to say about Olivia Hussey's performance in this?
She's okay.
She's fine.
She's fine. She's very pretty.
Very pretty.
That's her whole thing. Is she's very, very pretty.
Very pretty. Very pretty. And honestly, very good. Like she was very good in Romeo and Juliet. Like I remember when we watched it being exceptionally impressed by her acting.
No, she's amazing in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
In this, she's fine.
She's fine.
But she's amazing in Romeo and Juliet.
Okay, we've now come to what I would consider the top performance of this film,
Mm-hmm.
Salome Otterborn. I think this is friend of the pod.
She'd have to be at this point.
Friend of the pod, Angela Lansbury.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do not believe I have ever seen an actor visibly enjoying a role more than Angela Lansbury was enjoying playing this character. Like, I hope that there's no like behind the scenes that's like, oh no, she hated it. To me, it seemed like she was having so much fun playing this like drunk, ridiculous character. Just the joyfulness of that, I thought really came across on screen. And then she gets shot in the head. What do you think?
I can't add anything to any of that. She is amazing and wonderful in this movie, and it is not great to watch her get shot in the head a second time for this show, because that's a bummer.
A bummer.
Because we watched it in The Manchurian Candidate, and then we had to watch it again in this one. It's a bummer.
Mhm.
I don't like seeing Angela Lansbury get shot in the head.
Yeah.
I know that's a controversial statement, but I'm not a fan.
Unpleasant. Andrew Pennington? Was he in this?
He absolutely is. He's George Kennedy.
Right. Very American George Kennedy.
I like seeing George Kennedy show up.
He's all right.
George Kennedy's great.
Yeah.
What do you know George Kennedy from?
No idea.
See, so have you ever seen Cool Hand Luke?
No.
Have you ever seen the Naked Gun movies?
No.
I knew the answer was no to both of those, but I thought I would ask just to be nice. He's great in everything I've seen him in, including this.
Fantastic.
I like George Kennedy.
Louise Bourget.
Louise Bourget is Jane Birkin.
Okay.
She's fine.
Jane Birkin, who I did not know was an actor, as opposed to being the model after whom the Birkin bag was named.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
You look it up after the look it up after the show.
I just want to be clear. I said, "Is it?" Like I know what it is.
I did not know she acted. Did you notice she got top billing?
Yes.
Yeah, just oddly got like before the title credit, considering she's playing the maid. And I just thought that was like a fun little snippet of history. Such was Jane Birkin's status in 1978 that she got such high billing for playing a very small part.
Mm-hmm.
So
unless it's alphabetical or something.
Unless it's alphabetical, which I suppose it may be. But Jacqueline de Belfort, played by
Mia
Farrow, was okay.
She's okay. Her British accent is
pretty
good.
bad.
It's pretty okay.
No, it's pretty bad.
Her performance is a little out there. It's a little dramatic. Like, I think a little too dramatic for Jackie.
Yeah. I will say too, like, from here on in, all the hair is 100% 1970s.
Yeah.
All the costumes are pretty 1970s. As you get closer to the major characters, they clearly were like, no, we're just gonna do 70s.
Yeah, Mia Farrow just looks like Mia Farrow.
Yeah, she just looks like Mia Farrow. Like, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Simon Doyle?
Simon Doyle is Simon McCorkindale. And I'm just gonna say the thing that is not very nice. I think it is one of the poorer performances in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he's very good.
I frankly can't picture him at all.
I can picture his face.
Okay.
I have to. He just wasn't very good in this, and like I don't want to dwell on it because I don't want to poop on the guy. But like the performance did nothing for me.
Yeah. And then wrapping up, Lynette Doyle.
Lynette Doyle is Lois Childs.
She was totally forgettable, and
yeah.
I noticed like not even on the cover as I'm looking at the Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
Totally don't remember what she even looked like, honestly.
She's pretty.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
What greater indictment of this movie is there than like it's actually kind of forgettable?
Yeah.
Like some parts of it are not forgettable at all.
Well, I also want to call out. We haven't even really. We had one more character. We talked about Poirot, of course.
Yeah, but you need to talk about.
But we need to talk about his best friend.
Yeah.
Colonel Race, who's David Niven, who I love. I love David Niven.
I love David Niven too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was great, I thought, in this.
I think he's doing the same thing that Bette Davis and Peter Ustinov did.
Himself.
They just showed up and played themselves, which works.
Yes.
If you are them.
Yes.
And
correct.
maybe that's what some of the other people were doing. It just didn't work because they're not David Niven or Peter Ustinov or Bette Davis.
As opposed to Maggie Smith and Angela Lansbury, who showed up to act. Who showed up to play a character, goddammit. Yes. All right. Anything else?
We've kind of gone through the entire cast. We've gone through all the characters. Let's just do our notes really quick, because I do have some notes on this movie that haven't been brought up
Sure.
yet.
Well, my notes are always more brief than yours. I mentioned the 70s hair, which was one of my notes.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Maggie Smith being taller than Bette Davis, which was my other note. The only other note I took is I'm a little bit ashamed, but I did write, what the fuck is that? And that was when Bette Davis kind of first turned around and she had sort of a grotesque makeup job. And it just put me off for a second. And I wrote, what the fuck is that? That is all the notes that I took.
But it's okay that you wrote that because you love her.
I love Bette Davis, as you well know. Well, it just blew my mind that I was like, this is not even... I mean, I guess now that I say it, not even 30 years after All About Eve. 30 years is a good long time. But like to go from like beautiful Margot Channing to crone in that length of time is a bit shocking.
We had this conversation when we were watching it, but you acknowledged at the time that one of the things about Margot Channing is that she is rapidly aging out of the parts that she's playing.
Well, she's 40.
Yeah.
If she was 40 in 1950, she's 70, which is not really, I mean, in today's day and age, 70 is not like crone status.
They put her under a lot of makeup.
They put her in a lot of makeup is what I'm saying.
Also, life was hard.
Life was hard back then. People smoked and didn't have sunscreen. It was very, and didn't have Botox. It was very hard. It was very hard to be an actor.
I have not been able to find a good answer to this for a couple of reasons. One, I think it is not readily available. And two, I didn't look as hard as I could have. I am genuinely going to put this to our audience because I don't think we know the answer to this. Lynette Ridgway in the book. Where's she from?
England?
England? I thought so. Like, I assumed so.
But she's American or something else in every version.
Yeah, so she's American in this movie.
Oh, she's very American. Oh, God, now I'm getting a mental picture.
Right?
Yes, her is really bad.
Yeah. So I'm saying this to say I'm literally putting out the call to our audience. Is she American? Is she specific? That's the thing. In the book, I don't think she ever is specifically British.
I mean, her dad's name is Melhuish, which is not very American.
I appreciate that. What I'm saying is I don't think she is specifically British. I think we assume she is. But then I think that's what allows everyone to make her something. Like, so she's either American or Israeli. That's basically what Lynette gets to be. I found it super, super engaging for like the first half hour, and then it kind of let me down.
Yeah.
Like, I actually felt the opposite way about it that I did about Murder on the Orient Express. Like, I enjoyed that book, loved the 1974 movie, found it so engaging. This one, loved the book, found the movie a little boring.
Yeah.
Like, especially once the murder happens. It didn't grab me as much as it could have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in fairness, we watched it from a vacation where we were having a bit of a rough time. So, I feel like maybe we were not like 100%.
I was 100%.
All right.
When I'm watching a movie, I can be 100% about the movie in front of me.
Fair enough.
I can't speak for you.
I was having a rough time.
I know you were. I'm only speaking for myself right now.
Okay.
This did a thing. We've talked about it already about how like everyone kind of has beef with Lynette. That's not really text in the book. It's more subtext and also none of that stuff comes out until after she's dead. In the movie, though, they really go to lengths to let you know that everyone has beef with her.
She has like
before she dies.
Yeah, she has like a confrontation with every single character and then dies.
And like, I actually don't think that's a bad thing.
No, it's not terrible.
I think that's good. I think it works.
I just feel like Lois Child's acting was maybe not up to the challenge of having all these sort of dramatic confrontations.
Yeah. I did make a note about the fact that they changed race. There's no arms dealer. He is there representing Lynette's English lawyers.
Yes.
So they mixed that whole thing around. They kept the pearls but got rid of the jewel thief. And then just the last thing about this, I feel like they didn't have a good handle on Simon as a character because there's that thing we mentioned before about writing the J on the wall. In the movie, he's definitely smarter than Simon is in the book. Like, Simon in the book is portrayed as kind of a dum-dum, but Jackie is the brains behind the operation.
Yeah.
In this one, Simon's kind of elevated a little bit, and I think Jackie is
a little dumber.
Like, she's a little more emotional than she was in the book. And I don't really love that. And so apparently him writing the J on the wall was intentionally melodramatic. Like, he even said something to the effect of like, and then I did that, which I knew you would know that was ridiculous. It's like, well, then just don't put it in the movie.
Yeah, don't do it then.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
So this is one of those movies that like it had me 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, and then it just slowly lost me over the course of the next hour and a half.
Gotcha.
And when it was finished, I feel like we both looked at each other and went like, that was a movie.
Yeah. Again, we were tired. We had some stuff going on.
But also, Peter Ustinov's great.
Yeah.
Like, I like watching Peter Ustinov. He's really, really fun.
Yeah.
He didn't do it for me the way Albert Finney did.
That's fair enough.
Here's the deal, though. I got a hot take. You ready for my hot take?
I'm ready. As always, ready.
You know who's someone I do enjoy seeing as Hercule Poirot?
Lay it on me.
This may be an unpopular opinion. Did you know that David Suchet plays a very good Hercule Poirot?
I did know that. You know why I knew that?
Why?
Famously.
Famously. Played the character for years and years and years. We've already talked about him. We covered it in... I looked it up since I forgot what episode it was. Episode 15.
That blew my mind when you told me that.
Murder on the Orient Express.
I would have thought it was so much later.
It's crazy, right?
I know, it's really weird.
Do this for a long time. In that episode, we talk about him a lot because we covered Murder on the Orient Express, which, of course, they made a TV movie of. It is one of those... So this is technically episode 3 of series 9.
That's funny.
But, like, it's when
it's a TV movie.
Yeah, it's when they stopped making a TV show and instead made series of TV movies,
Yes.
which is fine and great. And it's how we got Murder on the Orient Express as well. That was a weird one to watch because I didn't have a ton of experience with Suchet's Poirot. Did you? You didn't either, right?
No, and the funny thing is I do remember, I think if the court reporter will play back the tape of episode 15, we both kind of said, we didn't have much experience with this, but we'd certainly like to watch more episodes of Poirot starring David Suchet. Never once. From that day to this, I don't believe we've watched a single episode of Poirot.
Not for fun, but we did watch one episode, didn't we? We watched one episode of it. I remember doing that specifically. Remember, It was about like the apartment.
Yeah.
And it was lame.
Yeah. Did we watch that when we did Murder on the Orient Express?
I think so.
Because we were just like, we want to get a better sense of this guy.
Yeah, and I found like a list that was like, here are the best episodes of
I remember
Poirot.
that.
And it was like the second best episode ever according to this list, and it was super lame.
It was boring. Yeah, it was really boring. So if you thought that the 5 years intervening between Murder on the Orient Express and now, we'd be like, we actually watched a bunch of Poirot since then. We got really into it. No, it didn't happen.
We had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But we had a really weird introduction to the character because in Murder on the Orient Express, they did it at kind of the end of his run as Poirot, and he is crusty and sad and mad.
Jaded.
The whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like it works, but it doesn't go down easy.
Yeah.
Like Peter Ustinov goes down easy.
Yeah.
Murder on the Orient Express is not that.
This one's a little more fun.
This is the Poirot that I always dreamed he was.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Poirot that tells me this is why people love Suchet as Poirot.
Yes.
Because he's fun
He's
and
very
fantastic. And would it surprise anyone to know that I think he is the best part of the movie?
The production was not amazing around him, I will say. I took very few notes, almost none, as you might say.
Mm-hmm.
But the one note that I did take, literally the one, was accents are all bad.
Yeah. Our first accent of the episode, except, Suchet obviously doing a French accent.
Belgian, please.
Belgian accent. Speaking, it's French.
Yeah.
Dr. Bessner, played by Steve Pemberton of the League of...
Oh, yeah.
The League of Gentlemen.
I mean, the funny thing is, did you ever watch League of Gentlemen?
No, I never did.
So,
I almost called it League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is why I paused, which I think a million people do.
Because he has a character
Mm-hmm.
in League of Gentlemen who's like a very unsettling, like, German choir master.
Yeah.
Who's like obsessed with boys.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to
That's
take
a fun
him.
thing to make jokes about.
Yeah, it was a simpler time.
Yeah, I know.
It was hard to take him seriously in this role because that was all I could think of.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of League of Gentlemen, I would say it's not so much funny as like so unsettling that you laugh nervously.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I would describe that whole series. It's very weird. But yeah, he was just doing the same accent as that character.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a challenge to take it seriously.
Yeah, and he's okay in it. It surprised me because I feel like a lot of the times that I see someone come in to do a role, someone who comes from comedy, I usually enjoy them in it a little bit more because they usually bring something a little more interesting to it.
Yeah.
I feel like he didn't really bring anything interesting to the part.
Well, yeah, I mean, interestingly, like in contrast, not to jump too far ahead, but in the Kenneth Branagh version, this role was played by Russell Brand.
Sure.
In kind of a departure. And I thought he did a really interesting job.
Yeah.
Agree, I guess is all I have to say.
I guess what I'm saying is I haven't liked any of the Bessners so far.
Yes.
Even though I enjoy Steve Pemberton and I enjoy Jack Warden, I don't think either of them really did a great job as Dr. Bessner.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people in this who I think are kind of perfectly cast and are names and are very good in keeping with the 78 version.
Yes.
And of course, our favorite person from that was Angela Lansbury,
right?
A Salome Otterborn. This one, I think, also has a very fine Salome Otterborn.
Yes.
Because it's Frances de la Tour.
Yes, she's very fine.
Having so much fun.
Yeah. She's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's great. She's great every time I see her in anything.
Yeah, she was in that. What was the name?
Vicious?
Vicious. Yeah. She
Mhm.
was like the best friend of Ian McKellen and Derek Jacobi. She was pretty funny in that.
Yeah. She's like weirdly played a giant multiple times.
Huh.
Like, she played a giant in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire? Pretty sure it's the Goblet of Fire.
I don't know why you said it with a question mark. You know I don't know.
No,
I've never seen Harry Potter.
I didn't say it with a question mark because I thought you might know. I'm saying it with a question mark because someone
listening definitely knows.
Many people listening are like, yes, it was the Goblet of Fire. Congratulations, you got it right. But she was also a giant in Into the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
She's not that tall.
She's really a normal-sized person.
Her Salome Otterborn is very, very good. Like, I can't remember some of the things she did as much as I remember Angela Lansbury,
Yeah.
but she's there and she gives 100%. She's up to the task.
Yeah, all you have to do really in this role is wear a kimono and a turban and kind of swan and be kind of elderly and kind of swan around.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And die.
And get shot in the head.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of... It kind of sucks having to watch someone get shot in the head multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it.
It's unpleasant.
At least with Lynette, like, every time she just wakes up dead.
Yeah.
But we don't actually have to watch it happen.
Yeah. Salome Otterborn is like literally cut off like mid-sentence. Like that's the whole thing.
It's upsetting.
All right. So Frances de la Tour. Who else?
I'm going to throw out another person who, to me, is the perfect example of bad accent, great performance.
Okay.
And it's a small one. And also, Cornelia Robson doesn't show up, I think, in any other versions.
Okay.
Miss Van Skyler's, niece?
Yes, her niece.
Right, because Van Skyler is traveling with her niece and traveling with her nurse.
Yeah, but is the nurse in this one or just the niece? I think it's just the niece.
Exactly,
right.
Yeah. So Bowers has been cut.
Right.
But Cornelia's there.
Right.
Which is very exciting for her. Because usually Bowers, I think, is a much more interesting role.
I mean, I just picture Maggie Smith in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Which I'd do happily do anytime.
But Cornelia's in this, played by an actor named Daisy Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
Her accent
terrible.
Is because she's playing American.
Yeah, her accent is like she listened to recordings of Americans from all different parts of the country and was kind of like, oh, so I guess to do a neutral American accent, I kind of need to sound like all of those things.
All at once.
Yeah, all at once. It
occasionally
was like,
Southern,
yeah,
occasionally
kind
like
of California.
Yep.
It was not a neutral. It was not a neutral accent.
So I feel okay saying that her accent was terrible. I feel okay about it because I think her performance is wonderful.
She was very funny.
She was one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. I thought she stole every scene that she was in. Loved seeing her in it. This doesn't happen that much, but like I'll go up and I'll look up an actor on IMDb and find out that if I want to see them in other stuff, I don't really have that many options.
Yeah.
Because she just isn't in a lot.
She probably does theater. She probably does a lot of UK theater.
I hope so. Anyway, what I'm saying is she stole the movie and she's great. And I wanted to say that even though her accent is bad. And she's playing opposite the Miss Van Skyler of the movie, who is Judy Parfitt.
Yeah.
Who you're a fan of.
She's in Call the Midwife.
Yeah. Also doing her American accent is better.
A little better. Not amazing, but slightly better.
There's one good accent in this movie, and it's David Suchet.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And he's had a long time to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about our three. Let's talk about Emma Griffiths-Malin as Jackie de Belfort. Full disclosure, we had to take a break for a second and look up some pictures of these actors because we kind of forgot about some of them.
But both her and the actress who played Rosalie Otterborn were both quite good.
She's quite good. I had no problem whatsoever. She's doing her own accent, which is a plus.
Mm-hmm.
She does a great job.
Yes.
No real beef with her at all. J.J. Field as Simon Doyle. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved this Simon, especially coming off of 1978 because I thought McCorkindale wasn't that. I didn't think he was good, like kind of at all.
I'm so sorry. Can I see a picture?
Okay, now you've seen a picture of him.
I mean, I guess kind of forgettable since you showed me the picture and I was still like, I don't really remember this guy.
I showed you one, and you're like, he's at a funny angle. You need to find me a better one so I can see his face. And then I found one where his face is like right there, zoomed in, close up, and you're like, I still don't remember.
I still don't really remember. But that's okay. I do remember Lynette Doyle,
Well, I will just say this for J.J. Field. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite Simon of the three that we watched.
Sure.
I kind of loved him in it. But you want to talk about Lynette?
Yeah. Again, for some reason, I don't know if this is textual because I read the book and
Mhm.
you read the book,
Yep.
and I don't remember any reference to Lynette being American.
So we took a little break a little while ago. So when we stopped talking about the 1978 one and moved into this one, you didn't hear it, but we took a little break.
Mm-hmm.
Telling our audience at home. I did a little research during that break.
Yes.
Just to find, like, is there any textual, like,
I consulted the author's text.
like, has anyone gone on record to say Lynette Ridgway is American?
Yes.
Or Lynette Ridgway is not American?
Because her dad has that very American first name of Melchish.
I do think there is something in the novel about her inheritance all coming from her grandfather.
Okay.
Who is American.
Right.
I think textually is American.
And that's why she has this American trustee, which
Yes.
I suppose makes sense.
Okay. But I genuinely can't find anything that says where she's from at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't think there is any textual evidence that she is American.
Yeah.
There's also no textual evidence that she's British.
Right. So, like, you should just cast someone and have them do their own accent, I guess is what I'm saying.
So here's the deal. Casting Emily Blunt
Yeah.
and making her do an American accent is a brilliant move if you're making the movie Looper, which I don't get to talk about on this show very much. You'll have to forgive me for a second because I'm going to talk about Looper.
Here we go.
Looper's great. Anyone who likes sci-fi should see it. She is in it doing an American accent, and her American accent is flawless. Her performance is incredible. So I know that she is capable of doing a great and perfect American accent.
Well, when is Looper from?
Several years after this.
Yeah, because she was maybe not married to John Krasinski at the time.
I mean, I think more than anything, Looper was a movie with a budget.
Yeah.
And she was a few years older, had more experience, probably had a real, like, dialect coach.
Yeah.
I am assuming no one got a dialect coach on this episode of a TV show.
No, unlikely. That is unlikely.
All of this to say, we're really circling
the drain
issue.
here.
We're circling the issue.
Yeah.
Her American accent is garbage.
It's really, like, I don't like to say things are garbage, but it was distracting. I will say it was bad enough to be distracting.
I feel okay calling it garbage because I know from actual experience watching other things that she is fantastic and totally capable of doing a great accent. I think she was failed by the production.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't just make her British. Like, just very weird to me.
Just make her British.
I don't understand.
There's nothing.
She's such a British actress.
Yeah.
Like, she's very British.
I mean, she's very young and very pretty in this.
Yes.
Which, I mean, well, she's always pretty, but she's very young and pretty in the movie.
I don't want to harp on this.
I don't want to. No, I want to harp on it only because I just don't understand the choice.
Yeah.
Not because whether she does a good American accent or not. What is the choice to make her American?
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, the choice is a little bit baffling, and that was why we were so confused. Like, is this textual? Like, do we need to consult the author's text? And we did, and it sounds like you could find no reference to it, so it's very strange.
I just wonder how much of it is they made her American because she's American in the 1978 version.
Oh, I mean, some of this was sort of shot for shot from the 1978 version.
Yeah.
Like, I am sure that the screenwriters read the book, I would hope. But,
I mean,
like,
I'm assuming everyone who wrote on Poirot
read
at least talked to someone who had read the book.
I don't know. It's weird. It was a weird choice to make.
It's a bummer because it just colors her whole performance.
Yeah.
And I didn't love her in it.
Yeah.
And I like Emily Blunt. She's very good.
Yeah. Okay, so forgive me.
Yeah.
Was the jewel thief plot? Because Tim Allerton was not in this.
Tim Allerton is in this.
He is in this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So the jewel subplot is in it.
Oh, because he's gay in this.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. It was this one. For some reason, I was thinking that was the Brenna one, but no.
Because he has like a whole thing going with Rosalie.
Rosalie, as
Rosalie?
they constantly say. Yeah. Rosalie.
I mean, you hear even I'm confused about how to
I don't
say
know.
it. But they have a very close relationship the entire time, and at the end of the movie, she's like, "Hey, let's do
kiss
something.
let's kiss with tongues."
My mom just got shot in the head. And
I'm kind of happy about it.
I'm kind of happy about it because she was the worst. And do you want to kiss with tongues? And he goes, "Oh, sweetie.
Oh, no.
Oh, honey, I'm not your type."
No. I think he says, like, barking up the
you're,
wrong tree.
You're barking up the wrong
Yeah.
tree. I think that is his line.
And goes off with his mother.
Yeah, it was a nice little moment.
Which, you know what? Listen.
Yeah.
If one day my son becomes a jewel thief and is like, Mom, how about just you and me go on a cruise down the Nile and get involved in a murder mystery, but I'll always come back to you at the end of the movie, I'll be like, that sounds great. Sounds great, son.
I'll have issues with that.
Okay. Well, maybe
Do I have anything to say about this?
I think Papa Allerton might be dead.
Oh, God. You know who is good in this?
Who's good
that
in
kind
this?
of forgot about until now? David Soul as Andrew Pennington.
He's not bad.
He really isn't.
Yeah.
You'll have to forgive me. Can't remember if he's Starsky or Hutch, but he was Starsky or Hutch.
He's one of those Americans, I believe, that like lives in the UK and works in the UK,
Mhm.
like kind of like Gillian Anderson now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I remember that he was in a Little Britain episode,
Oh, yeah?
and like you wouldn't be in a Little Britain episode if you were like an American actor living in LA, right?
Yeah.
Like you must be an American working in the UK to be in Little Britain.
I just think he's a get. Because he's
Yeah.
an American character who can do a real American accent.
Yeah, no, that's what's weird about hearing British people doing American next to Americans doing American is that like the two things don't sound the same.
Mhm.
Again, without a good accent, with an accent coach, fine. But it was a little bit strange.
Mhm.
But he was very good.
Yeah.
I love David Suchet.
I do too. I'm glad you're bringing it back to him because this is a fun Poirot.
Yeah.
Like a super, super fun Poirot.
Yeah.
I appreciate a lot of things about this one. Like, I appreciate that they lean into it being a slow burn. I appreciate... I keep bringing up the slow burn thing. No one could possibly know this. A friend of mine that I also follow on Letterboxd gave the Kenneth Branagh Death on the Nile 1 star,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very low score.
It's a low score.
And part of the review was that it takes so long for the death on the Nile to happen. It's like not even it's not until halfway through the movie.
Yeah, well, read the book.
And it stuck in my head because I read that before we started and going through all of these, like, that's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature.
That's how
That's
it works.
the whole point.
It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
You don't really know who's going to die. You have your suspicions, and then a big thing happens, and you're like, oh, man, nothing is happening the way I expect. Oh, no, the person I thought was going to die actually did die. Like, that's kind of the point.
He did
That's
die.
how it works. And I appreciate that none of them really messed with that. Like, this one didn't mess with that. Lynette dies halfway through,
Mhm.
and that's... It's handled well, and I appreciate that.
There it is.
One of my notes here, can I read it to you?
Sure.
I'm not taking notes because even with the bad accents and even with the breathing dead bodies, there were breathing dead bodies.
Oh, yeah, like
heavily
breathing.
It's really fun and engaging, and Suchet's amazing.
Yeah.
That was like
I
one
mean-
of the 5 notes that I took for this because he's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he is really fantastic. It is kind of a shame that I think he kind of got pigeonholed, I guess, into this role
Mhm.
because I think he is on the same level as Patrick Stewart, like any of those people
Who
that
also was pigeonholed.
for a while.
Yeah.
Like not anymore.
No, that's true.
Yeah. Do yourself a favor, watch the episode of Playing Shakespeare that's him and Patrick Stewart doing Shylock because it is like the most amazing masterclass in anything I have ever seen.
Yeah. I think my favorite, it's funny that we have separate favorite David Suchet, Patrick Stewart moments
From Playing Shakespeare. Yeah.
Yeah, but my favorite is from a different episode where they're doing...
I think it's from Richard III.
Thank you, because
Yeah.
I could not remember, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're
But
talking
they
about.
do this great little thing that like is one of my favorite examples. I'll try to link to it if I can find it on YouTube, but it's one of my favorite examples of actors working a scene together and improvising together to figure out different ways to do things. But it's very much like right in the middle of this show being recorded live in front of an audience. Patrick Stewart and David Suchet are doing a scene from Richard III, and Patrick Stewart's like, well, we could do it. Do you want to just try it again? Let's try it again, but do it this way. And they do it the way he said, and it like works really well.
And they like both know that they've nailed it. And there's this little moment where like I think Patrick Stewart like kind of hits David Suchet with the script.
Yeah.
Like, look at that cool thing we just did.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's like one of my favorite moments of television
Just
ever.
Beautiful.
David Suchet is wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're experiencing him the way he's supposed to be experienced as Poirot, which is fun Poirot.
Yeah. Also, again, do yourself a favor and watch the show that goes wrong, Peter Pan Christmas episode
Mhm.
starring David Suchet because it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It's
The
pretty
little
amazing.
monologue that he does about I don't want to spoil it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. There's maybe a Poirot reference in the show.
It's not very usual
All right.
for Poirot to be present at the scene of the catastrophe.
Okay. I'm just waiting. You take as long as you need. 10 minutes later.
They put the mustache on him. Oh my god, it's so funny.
I'll change the subject for a second.
All right.
The pearls are not the only thing stolen in this movie.
What about someone's virtue?
No. Do you remember when they show the scene where Louise Bourget is killed, where someone stabs her to death,
Okay.
where he's imagining it? Do you remember the music that plays over that scene?
No.
You don't remember how it's just the Psycho music from
Oh,
the
yeah.
shower?
No, I recall that. Yes.
It's literally the Psycho music.
That's fine.
They just lifted it and planted it directly into their episode.
That's fine.
Of a
It's
TV
a
show.
reference. It's a reference.
I guess
Fair use.
there's no better example to me of this just being an episode of a TV show than the whole reveal,
Mhm.
because there's always the reveal, right? Like Poirot has to show how clever is Poirot and reveal to everyone that he knows what's going on, right?
Yep.
You look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just still laughing. Go ahead.
So in 78, how does he reveal everything? He gathers everyone. Everyone must come together into the room, and I
lock the doors.
Lock the doors. Hercule Poirot, I will reveal all. In the Kenneth Branagh one,
Same thing.
it's a little more dramatic. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But same thing. I'm going to gather everybody together, and I will reveal all. This one, it's literally just Poirot and Race, Race we didn't even talk about. He's one of the foxes. It's James Fox.
Yeah.
There's actually some really, really funny moments in this movie between him and Poirot and like whoever they're interviewing. Anyway, it's Poirot and Race. They're in the room that Simon's in with his, bum leg.
Right.
And someone else is in the room with them. I can't even remember what other character is in the room with them, but someone else is sitting there, and that's how Poirot reveals everything.
Yeah.
It's not in front of everyone. It's just in front of a few people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even think Jackie is in the room when he reveals it all. It struck me in the moment that I didn't feel like I was watching the big Poirot reveal at the end of a big movie.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was watching the reveal at the end of an episode of a TV show.
Sure.
And I remember feeling like, oh, well, that's crappy. And then I caught myself because, like, that's super unfair because it's literally an episode of a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like Monk to me or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is not a problem because Monk is great.
Monk's great.
But this whole thing, while they went to Egypt, they shot on location. They clearly had a bigger budget for this than pretty much any of the other episodes they did. Clearly. It still feels like an episode of a TV show.
Sure.
And I don't really mean that as a pejorative. It's just, I think, a fact.
Yeah.
So I ask you this.
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I liked it. I liked it fine.
Not your
What?
favorite? Didn't?
I wouldn't say. I mean, listen. I think Poirot is really fun.
Yeah.
So I think it would take a lot for me not to like a Poirot.
Yeah.
It was very fun, and I enjoyed watching it.
So then, several years later,
Yes.
we have a new Poirot. I described all of this at the beginning. Kenneth Branagh makes Murder on the Orient Express. It is a hit.
A lot of people didn't like it, though.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. You know who's not included among those people?
Us.
Us two.
We loved it.
It's great and so much fun. If you'd like to hear us talk about it more,
Listen to that episode.
go back to episode 15.
Do it.
And as I said at the beginning of this episode, we were super excited about Death on the Nile. And then it had that really hard time getting to our eyeballs.
Yeah.
It took years for it to get to our eyeballs.
Yeah.
Now, here we are, post-viewing. We have seen it. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun.
I thought that the film was a little bit weak.
Yeah.
I thought the script was a little weak.
Okay.
I thought some of the performances were a little weak. But
But
I think this interpretation of the character of Poirot by Kenneth Branagh is amazing.
Mhm.
I love it.
we're
like,
so sold.
I'm sold. I know that I think there have been some sort of Poirot purists who are like, it just doesn't do it for me. But like, I think I have room in my heart for this and David Suchet.
Sure.
You know, like I don't discriminate. And like, I say this as someone that's a real hardcore Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett
Mhm.
person. You know what I mean? That like, I have seen Sherlock Holmes that I'm like, no, I don't have room in my heart for that. as we know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he is so funny.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
Yeah, what?
It reminds me of when we watched the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And you were like so dead set against them.
Yeah.
But then when you saw like the relationship that he and Watson have with each other, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, no, I'm here for this
I
interpretation.
guess I kind of get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this better than the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes.
No, but
Like,
what I'm saying is you found you had room in your heart for
Yes.
more than one.
I just think that it's funny because I think that some of the things that the screenwriters do with him and his dialogue are so funny and so interesting and so unique. They spent 4 times as much time on him as they did on all the other characters. Like, some of the plot, let me say this. The book is so intricately plotted and so perfect. I felt like the plot in this was lacking. I felt like
Okay.
some of the other characters were lacking. I felt like some of the other dialogue was lacking, but I thought Poirot was perfect. So I guess I wish that they had put as much effort into everything else as they did into making this Poirot such a great character.
I think it's funny. I think we do differ on this one.
Yeah.
Writers, by the way, is written by Michael Green, who also did Murder on the Orient Express.
Mhm.
So he and Branagh were coming back together to do this. I liked the script.
Here's my problem with it.
Yeah.
They decided that it was important to them
Mm-hmm.
that everybody knew each other before they got on the boat,
Yes.
and that they weren't like strangers coming together
Mhm.
coincidentally who all happened to know Lynette Ridgway, but that they were all there together, having been invited together, and that was sort of part of the murder plot.
Mm-hmm.
But what that meant was they had to spend a lot of time on backstory as to how everybody knew each other and why they were there.
Mm-hmm.
That piece of it, not only did it not work for me, I thought it was totally unnecessary. Like, it's not necessary in the original book, and I didn't quite see why it was necessary now, setting up all the reasons that they all knew each other and were all there together.
Yeah. So just some examples.
Yeah.
Like, they've changed so much. Like, I'm struggling with where to start because it's super different.
Yeah.
Like, it is it's like they took everybody and threw them into a blender. So
Yeah.
they're taking aspects of characters and applying them to other characters and creating characters and eliminating characters. It's very different, even though the basic archetypes are still there.
And the murder plot itself, like the actual mechanics, is the same.
Yes.
Which is amazing because they changed so many other things, but it's like, oh no, we can't improve on this. This is perfect.
Yeah, but like the kind of stuff I'm talking about is, so it's not Uncle Andrew from the United States, it's Cousin Andrew.
Yeah. Who's in love with her.
Kind of, yeah,
So,
kind of.
Yeah, he is. He says at the end, I loved her.
Yeah. I thought he meant more as like family.
No, I didn't get that meaning.
Okay.
It does not matter.
That's totally fair. Anyway, what I'm saying is Ali Fazell as Andrew Kachadorian, Cousin Andrew.
Yeah.
Because in this version, Lynette is from everywhere.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, well, that's. I'm not saying this movie's perfect. I'm saying I loved it.
Yeah.
He on screen is very, very different than any version of Uncle Andrew that we've gotten before. But it's the same thing.
Right.
Like, it's the same thing. He's still in charge of the money. He still was a naughty boy. And he still thought, oh,
I'll just kill her with a rock.
I'll just kill her with a rock. And they do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Like with the doctor, like his name is different and he's in love with Lynette and
Yeah.
he maybe proposed to her and was rejected, but he's there on the cruise for some reason.
Yes, Russell Brand as Linus Windlesham.
Yeah.
Her former fiance, who's the doctor in
Yeah.
this one. I bring this stuff up to go back to the beginning, like you said, the fact that they're all there on purpose.
Yes, they were all invited. They are celebrating the elopement
Mm-hmm.
of these people.
Right. Because the whole beginning is the same.
Yeah.
Well, hang
Sort
on.
of.
No, it's totally different. We'll get back to the beginning in a second.
Oh boy.
But the idea of the love triangle is the same.
Yeah.
Like the plot is that part of the plot is exactly the same. But
Yes.
they're all there together. I have a theory
Yes.
about why they did it this way.
Go for it.
A of all, I have nothing to back this up.
Mm-hmm.
B of all, anything I'm about to say is not meant to be, this is why it's good.
Yeah.
I just think this is why they did it, in terms of everybody knowing each other and having that be established at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think were thinking very much as, we are making the second installment in a series of movies that are going to operate as a series.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that defines Murder on the Orient Express is, well, the reveal over the second half of the story is all of these people who are totally random. No, they all had a reason for wanting to kill the victim.
I see.
And not only did they all have a reason for it, they all actually did it.
Yeah.
They all killed him.
Yeah.
And I wonder if as they were going into this one, they were like, I don't think we want to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how this book operates too.
Yeah.
That you kind of find out that, and the way the 1978 version does, even for the stuff it invents, where it kind of connects everybody to Lynette.
Yeah.
I think they intentionally sat down and said, how can we do the complete opposite of what we did with Murder on the Orient Express?
Yeah.
Let's have it be clear from the very beginning that they all know each other.
So that people don't think we're trying to do this sort of same twist.
Yes.
So what you're saying is they kind of discovered like, hey, Agatha Christie, the plot's like, I don't know if this is a hot take, maybe a little repetitive.
Yeah, like
do you think that's what happened in the writer's room?
A little bit. Again, I'm not saying this to say this is why it's good. I just think this is why they did it that way.
Okay. I buy that. I totally buy that.
Mhm.
It doesn't really alter me thinking as I was watching the movie, gosh, they're spending a lot of time on this.
No.
Yeah.
It's like awkward.
Yeah.
The way they set everybody up is very awkward. So there's a lot of stuff where Book is explaining to... Now, you may wonder, why am I talking about Book, the guy from Murder on the Orient Express?
He's back.
Well, I will tell you this. Race is not in this because he's been replaced with Book.
Yeah.
And you know what? I am really torn on this. Really torn.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, if you're making a series of movies... I don't mind having multiple characters come back, and I don't mind having Poirot have the same buddy in the second one that he had from the first one.
Not going to be in the third one, though.
That's the other part that bums me out. That's the other hand. He's not going to be in the third one because this was actually one of the reasons why I kind of loved that they mixed everybody up and moved everything around.
You didn't know who was going to die.
I didn't know who was going to die, and that's a really cool feeling to have when you have read a book and watched two versions of it already, and you think, like, it's a murder mystery that I've watched. This is now the fourth time that I'm experiencing this story. Being able to make me go, I don't know what's going to happen next, I actually think that's more important than being faithful to the source material.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you're sort of that's sort of a unique position that you're in. Like, you would hope that a movie could stand on its like the thing that always happens for us is we are never in a position to watch the movie completely as something that stands on its own. Like, for nothing that we ever do. So, like, we're always coming to it with that bias.
I think they made the decision. This is a very popular book that was made into a very popular movie and an episode of a very popular TV show. Maybe not popular in like the pop, like mainstream pop culture.
Sure. But people that are going to see this.
Exactly. Yeah. Like people who are fans of mysteries are going to probably know about Poirot and probably will have seen some version of it. They're going to have some idea of what's going to happen. Let's surprise them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because as you say, they don't change anything about the Jackie, Simon, Lynette story. That whole plot is the same.
Right.
By the way, quick sidebar. The way they shoot the whole thing happening, where Jackie shoots Simon and he tells them to take her away and they take her to Bowers and they're running across. They do the whole thing in one take. Those few minutes when Simon went and shot Lynette.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. That sequence is like my favorite sequence in the entire movie.
Like, Branagh's a good director.
He is.
Like, he's good at that.
Like,
he's good at that.
The thing about Branagh is not that my problem with Branagh is not that he's like not good. The problem with Branagh is that he's sometimes too much.
Yeah.
Because that was when we watched Frankenstein.
We were like, come
I
on.
forgot how much that movie is.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
He does too much in it. But anyway, circling back to the thing I was talking about, I appreciate, as a viewer who already knows what's going to happen, who already thinks they know what's going to happen, that this movie managed to put me in a state of not knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the case with Salome getting shot, because we watched Angela Lansbury get shot. We watched Frances Delatour get shot. Sophie Okonedo is in this as Salome Otterborn, a very different version of the character, who
does not get shot.
Is not the worst.
She's great.
Like, she's not the worst at all. In fact, Poirot has kind of a thing for her. And I kind of didn't want her to get shot. But it got to the point where, like, I remember turning you going, like, I don't think they're going to kill Salome.
Yeah, it just wasn't building to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was going to build towards another character who was Euphemia, who's Book's mom, played by Annette Bening.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Euphemia was going to be that character who was going to get shot.
Yeah.
And then they give us this scene where Poirot is interrogating Book, and it takes a few minutes going through the scene until if you know the story, you realize, oh shit.
Yeah.
Book's going to get, and he does
And
get
then he
shot,
gets shot.
and he's dead.
And he
it's very sad and shocking. Like I said, on the one hand, love he's in the movie, love how effective it is. On the other hand, I'm really sad because I like Book, and Book's dead now, and he's not going to be in the third one.
Yeah, I did think the Book Rosalie love story was a little strange, only because it was a lot of telling and not a lot of showing.
Do you want to give some background on that in case anyone hasn't seen this version? Book, by the way, played by Tom Bateman from the first one. I already mentioned that Salome Otterborn is Sophie Okonedo, and
Rosalie, her niece, not her daughter.
Yeah, Rosalie, her niece, is played by Letitia Wright, who is in the Black Panther movies.
Yeah,
and also she and Armie Hammer are the two who've like kind of committed career suicide.
Oh no, what did she do?
Oh, she's anti-vaxxer.
Oh,
she's just
great.
She likes posting things online about her opinions about things.
Great.
They happen to be opinions that are kind of crazy.
Fantastic.
And so that hasn't been awesome.
Great.
And Armie Hammer, we don't really need to get into.
We already talked about Armie Hammer when we did Rebecca.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Armie Hammer stuff as much as we did in the Rebecca episode, which is nothing. We're just going to acknowledge that it's a thing and just focus on the movie. But anyway, you were talking about Book and Rosalie.
There's a love story component between the two of them, and like they're in love and they're trying to hide it because they think Book's mother won't approve because she wants Book to marry someone that's rich, and Rosalie's not rich and like doesn't come from the background that she would prefer. It's a bit of a red herring / nothing burger because it has nothing to do with like the murder plot.
Mm-hmm.
There is sort of a jewel thief component to it, which doesn't even really bear getting into. But B, there was a lot of telling and not a lot of showing. Like Book talked about how in love they were, and Rosalie talked about how in love they were, and Poirot was like, man, I've never seen two people, like, was very earnest. Like, I've never seen two people as in love as you. And Annette Bening gave some really impassioned speeches about love, but like, we didn't really see a lot of the two of them together interacting, being in love.
Well, they had like one scene outside of the temple that they all went to go visit.
Yeah.
But even that scene is really tense between the two of them.
And we learned that like Poirot was actually brought there to sort of investigate Rosalie, and he's giving his sort of final deliberation, and he's like, she's amazing and she hates me, but that's fine, and she's wonderful, but we like didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty egregiously tell not show. Like, again, so much so as to be distracting. Like, I suppose there's nothing wrong with a little bit of tell not show, but this was a lot.
Can I change the subject for a second?
Yeah, when are we going to talk about Poirot?
In a little bit.
Okay, fine.
I think you have brought up something very important because you brought up love.
It's a theme.
It's kind of cool that someone decided when they were making an adaptation of Death on the Nile that there's going to be a theme.
Love.
Because the
love
other
and death, get it?
Yeah, the other ones don't have a theme. The other ones, the theme is someone is dead. Watch how clever Hercule Poirot is.
Yeah.
But this one, they're like, no, we're making a movie about love. And that feels very Branagh to me.
Yeah.
Like that feels like Branagh making the decision.
It's got to be about something.
It's got to be about something. And you know what? I have a really hard time with any movie that is trying to be about something.
Yeah.
I may not think it succeeds. I think this one does. But that's not the important part. The important part is that they tried something. So this one is about love.
Mm-hmm.
So we get this scene at the beginning about how much Poirot loved the woman that he was in love with back when he was fighting in World War I.
In the war.
For the
Great War.
For Belgium. And back before he had a mustache.
Well, and we saw his mustache inspiration.
Yeah, okay. So there's this whole thing that happens at the beginning.
Well, this was what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about it then. Go for it.
So we get a little bit more of Poirot's backstory because in Murder on the Orient Express, which this is a sequel to, we saw him in his compartment in the train looking at a photograph of a woman and calling her Catherine. But we didn't really know anything else about what that story was all about. So here they expand on it a little, and the movie opens with Poirot, as you say, in the trenches in World War I, and we see
doing that beautiful modern de-aging.
Yeah. And we see his captain with a magnificent mustache.
Yeah, Poirot has no mustache.
No mustache. No
mustaches.
So we see Kenneth Branagh's upper lip, or lack thereof. They're all supposed to go over the top and take this bridge, and it's a suicide mission, and Poirot has this great idea that saves everybody. And unfortunately, he was not able to save his
Well,
Capitan.
he wasn't able to save everybody because, like, it's not that he saved everyone. It's that he saved them by having them attack at the right time.
Yeah.
Based on which way the wind was blowing
And then
for 7 minutes.
Yeah, and then somebody tripped a landmine.
Yeah, then his captain, like, tripped a landmine.
Yeah.
And Poirot did not... How clever Hercule Poirot is, he did not see the landmine.
He did not see the
He did
landmine.
not see the tripwire.
Yes.
A bunch of people die, and Poirot...
He's in the hospital.
He's in the hospital, and Catherine comes to visit him.
And we see them, and we sort of in a sort of Phantom of the Opera style reveal, we see that he's horribly scarred on his face, and she is a little bit shocked, but she suggests that he might perhaps grow a mustache.
Yeah, and he's basically like, "How could you love me when I look like this?
Yeah.
You'll grow a mustache."
And then we learn sort of 3/4 of the way through the movie, an additional reveal: she was killed. Presumably later on, coming to see him, the train that she was on was bombed.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, again, he is sort of interested in Salome Otterborn,
who is a blues singer.
She does
the bluesy music.
She does the bluesy music. I did not expect to enjoy it, but I
Normally I would not like this, but I like it very much.
Very much. We see him coming to see her, 6 months later, and she has sort of encouraged him to not hide who he is, and we see that he has shaved off his mustache and does have some scarring on his face that the mustache
and he
has
is
concealed.
now unrecognizable.
Right.
Like, he's not celebrity Hercule Poirot anymore. Now he's just some guy. Because how do you recognize him without his mustaches?
Right. So we think he's embarking on perhaps a more fulfilled and well-rounded life.
Yeah. I think, like, he's going after Salome.
Yeah,
at
for
this
sure.
point.
For sure. Yeah. And it is interesting. Like, I don't know, the thing with like the World War I plot, like it actually got me thinking about, like, in a good way, about World War I and how the soldiers oftentimes did come home with a lot of facial scarring, and that was the birth of plastic surgery, was like fixing the things that had happened to people's faces in the war, because I was like, oh, that's a really terrible wound that he has, and they actually did a pretty good job with, like, if you can cover it with a mustache, and then when he shaved his mustache it still didn't look like that bad.
Yeah.
Like, he just had some facial scarring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going with this. I just thought it was interesting historically that clearly he had some plastic surgery that had made the scars not so bad.
Yeah. Can I tell you one thing that I found out that I thought was fascinating?
Yes.
Apparently, it is canonical that Poirot has at least at one time worn a fake mustache.
Okay.
And it was in the last book. There's a thing in the text where he, like, pretends to be someone else, and one of the ways he does it is by taking off his fake mustache.
Okay.
And part of me just kind of wonders, like, is there an actual textual canonical, like, idea that Poirot has always worn a fake mustache?
Yeah.
Like, someone who's read all the books would have to tell me no. Because in the mystery,
he shaved his mustache.
In the mystery of the blue, Scooby-Doo, like, someone pulls on his mustache, but it is real and does not come off. And so I would love for someone to point me to textual evidence that his mustache is real, because if they make the decision that he's wearing a fake mustache, that's not crazy. Because we kind of both looked at it and we're like, with that amount of scarring, I think you pointed out, like, it's kind of, you can't really grow a mustache that looks like that if you have that amount of scarring.
Yeah, like, scar tissue doesn't grow hair in the same way. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Certainly not a mustache that magnificent.
We need we need our medical consultant.
Yeah. But anyway, this movie is about love.
Well,
and it's all about the love that he has for Catherine, and it's all about the love he has that he's growing for Salome
and his friend Book.
Yep, it's all about that, and it's about the love. But he figures the whole thing out because he can tell that Simon and Jackie are still in love with each other.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing about Simon and Lynette being in love with each other. Bowers and Van Skyler.
He discovers are in love with each other. Everyone's in love with everyone else.
And the thing is, Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French
they're so cute,
are adorable together, and that's fine. There's a really funny scene in this movie, if we could get back to accents for a minute.
Yeah.
There is a scene where Jennifer Saunders, as American Van Skyler, is walking down the deck of the ship next to Annette Bening as the British Euphemia, and they're having a conversation, and, like, both of them are doing, I would say, a pretty good job.
A pretty okay job.
I don't think either of them are doing a great job, but they're doing a pretty good job of doing each other's accents.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say, just sort of briefly about Poirot, is that I think that Branagh and the script both do a good job at portraying his sort of quirks and eccentricities and his sort of personality disorders.
Yeah.
Without, how to say this, without making the entire character be about that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Without necessarily making them personality traits. It's like, no, this is what this guy does. If there's 7 desserts on his plate, he wants 6 because 7 is not a good number for
Mhm.
him. I think he makes it feel very natural and like, this is just who I am. And I go back to the line that I think of every single day from Murder on the Orient Express. Perhaps in any movie that I have ever seen, the line that made me feel the most seen as a human being, which is, I am of an age to know what I like and what I do not like. What I like, I enjoy enormously. What I do not like, I cannot abide. That's Poirot. That's
Yeah.
Poirot.
Mhm.
I like some things. I don't like other things. And the things I don't like, not going to do that thing. I know who I am.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And I just, as someone for whom this is going to get maybe like a little bit real, as someone for whom I feel like anxiety or certain, like whatever sort of mental illness that I have makes up so much of a core of my personality that I'm like a little bit afraid to not be that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel very seen by this Poirot.
They do a really good job of demonstrating that the obsessive, like about minor things,
Yeah.
and the fastidiousness comes from the same place as his incredible attention to facts and details.
Yeah. Yes.
Like it's not like this is an extra thing that makes him weird and eccentric. He's the world's greatest detective, and a side effect of whatever it is that makes him the world's greatest detective is that he doesn't want to have 7 desserts on his table. He wants to have 6 because 7 is an odd number.
Right. That's sort of exactly what I was saying.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not that a DSM-5 diagnosable trait is his personality. It's that it cannot be separated from his personality. It's that the things that make you strong sometimes are also the things that are your weaknesses. They can be both at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think both of these movies, this and Murder on the Orient Express, show a great understanding of that.
Yes.
Before we move on, can I just give an amazing example of the way this movie threads the needle in terms of making Poirot's fastidiousness and eccentricities work tonally with some pretty dark stuff?
Sure.
After Lynette is killed, they are keeping her down in the cooler
Yeah, sure.
with the meat. And she's covered in a sheet, and he's there with Book and Windlesham. And there's literally a moment, they're having a very intense conversation. A woman is dead.
Yeah. Her body lies before them.
Yeah. Her feet, though, one of them is kind of cockeyed a little bit, and Poirot is standing down at her feet, and he literally takes a moment where he just moves it up so her feet are actually like mirroring each other. And it manages to be hilarious and not take me out of a really, really dramatic scene.
Yeah. It's good.
It's really
good. I
good.
think he understands this character really well, and I really appreciate it.
We love Brando's
We just
Poirot.
love him so much.
It's so good.
Just love him.
Getting back to the movie, though, because
Yeah.
there's just a few more things that I think we need to talk about. Because
Okay.
we talked about a lot of things kind of in a lot of different... This conversation about this movie has been a bit of a mess, which I think is appropriate because the movie itself is
a bit of a mess.
A bit of a mess.
A bit of a mess.
That's fine.
All right. Let's run through the rest of your notes.
I really dug it. The entire beginning of the movie is completely different than anything we've seen before with this story because there's always a prologue, and the prologue involves Lynette at her estate, and Jackie comes to visit her, and Lynette meets Simon. Tim Allerton is with his mom, and they're having a conversation somewhere. Everyone's separate. Everyone's in their own little world, and then they all come together in Egypt.
Yeah.
In this one, the movie opens with Simon, played by Armie Hammer, and Emma Mackey as Jackie doing it.
Yeah, doing the business.
And then we move from there to a club, to like a jazz club in London. And everybody's there.
Everybody's there.
Poirot's there. Jackie and Simon are there doing dancing erotically.
Dancing. My customers come here to dance erotically.
They're dancing very erotically.
Very erotically.
There's this movie is I honestly wonder how many of the people who don't like this just were put off by the eroticism of the movie, because like I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, it just makes a choice.
Yeah.
And it's a little uncomfortable sometimes.
It's a lot of the erotic dancing goes on a little bit too long.
It's I think it's okay. It didn't bother me that much.
I was just picturing like Simon with a huge gross boner the whole time. And
Yeah.
it was unpleasant.
Mm-hmm. But also at this club is Salome Otterborn, renowned jazz singer.
Singing.
Like jazz and blues singer. She's the one performing. And her niece, who is her manager, Rosie, is there. And so we get to meet all of these people. We get to meet all of these characters. And then Lynette shows up, played by Gal Gadot.
We got to talk about this.
The less we say about Gal Gadot in this movie, the better.
Her performance was not. Okay, is this a hot take? I really love Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
Gal Gadot is not very good at acting.
No. They make it work in Wonder Woman.
But I thought Wonder Woman was very good.
Well, I think one of the reasons why her Wonder Woman was so good is that she's kind of wide-eyed and innocent.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little easier to do than what she was trying to do as Lynette.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot is not a good actor.
Yeah.
But Gal Gadot does have one thing that very few actors have.
Very pretty.
She's the most beautiful woman on the planet. And that has to count for something.
Like, not everyone can be not just very pretty. Like, not everyone can be the most beautiful woman on the planet. Like, that can only be one person at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And that it happens to be her. Like, it's not her fault.
She didn't ask for it.
Yeah. She didn't ask to be born this way.
This is the hand she was dealt.
Yeah.
She is from everywhere. One of my favorite observations about the Wonder Woman movies was just that how much they needed to do to make all of the Amazons on Themyscira all do the same accent that Gal Gadot has to make it make sense that Gal Gadot talks the way she does. Like, she has an Israeli accent.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, she has a very, very specific accent. She's Israeli. It's fine. They make it work in Wonder Woman because they give all of the Amazons an Israeli accent.
That's fine. It's not a real place.
Right?
It's not a real place to be from.
In this, though, and it's especially funny because we have talked at length about where is Lynette from.
She's from Israel, apparently.
In this, like, where is Lynette from? But no one acknowledges it. No one talks about it. No one says anything about where anybody is from. There's no history or backstory of the characters. I found it very distracting.
It was very distracting.
Also because her acting is not very good.
Yeah.
And I go back to something, even though she is, again, the most beautiful woman on the planet, Lynette's supposed to be 20. Like, she hasn't come into her inheritance yet because she's not yet 21.
Yeah, she's 40 if she's a day.
Like, Gal Gadot is
she's older than me.
Stunningly attractive 40-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Is she 40?
Just double check. God forbid we slander Gal Gadot's age.
I just consulted with Siri, and Siri told me that Gal Gadot is 37 years old.
She's 39 if she's a day.
I'm so sorry that you found out that Gal Gadot is younger than you.
She just starts shaving years off.
I'm sorry that you are older than Gal Gadot.
It's not that much older.
But, like, to our point, she's not 20. And that just doesn't work. I can understand why she was cast in this because, again, most beautiful woman on the planet. But everyone else in the movie is kind of acting circles around her, and it's a bummer.
Can I just tell you, just off topic real quick?
Off topic, but on mic?
On the subject of Gal Gadot and me just sort of making a joke that she was shaving years off her age, I actually know somebody who is a name in some circles that was in my high school graduating class that I keep seeing her give interviews where she gives her age, and her age is not correct. Because I know how old she is because we graduated from high school together.
Is it, like, grossly inaccurate?
No, but it's like just every couple years, it's like she drops another year or two.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think she's going around saying she's 34.
Oh,
no. She's not. Because I know how old you are. A person whose name I won't say. I'm just saying, like, what's the point in lying about your age? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
why would you do that? Not that I'm saying Gal Gadot is doing that, because I just sort of made that up just now for a joke. Do you want to keep talking about this movie?
I kind of do. I'll throw out something that I want to talk about that is in this movie's favor, and it's a small thing, but I think it's really important, and I'm glad that someone finally addressed it. I always found, since I read the book and watched the first two movies, I always found it really messed up and honestly pretty racist that none of the crew were ever considered as suspects in the murder.
Because they're not people.
Because they're not, exactly. it's fucked up.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Yes.
And have not liked it throughout this entire experience. This is the only one where they actually make a point of saying that the crew was not on the boat the night of the murder.
Because they go home at night?
I don't know. They don't do a great job of explaining where
Why?
they actually are, but they do a really good job of stating that they were not on the boat, and that is why they are not considered suspects in this murder.
There it is.
And I really appreciate it because they're people, and they deserve to be considered suspects in the murder because they're people. And you don't know that they don't have a motive. You don't know that.
Yeah.
They deserve to be considered along with everybody else, and I appreciate that this movie did that. Let's get to the end.
Okay.
We do get action Poirot. Book gets shot.
Yeah.
He chases after the murderer.
There's a bit of a chase scene.
You know,
and we had Action Poirot in Murder on the Orient Express too, and it was my least favorite part of that.
Yeah, and this is going to be controversial. I have no problem with Action Poirot.
I don't love Action Poirot.
And then Action Poirot kind of continues a little bit because I mentioned before, he does get everybody together for his big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
They're all in the in the main room. What would you call the bar? The saloon? The saloon. Poirot walks in through the big doors. The movie's gorgeous. Like, it's gorgeous in a really artificial way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have a problem with that. Like, it's very clear that the entire movie was shot on a soundstage and a blue screen.
Yeah.
And I found it so consistent that I didn't mind it. Like, I thought it was I think it's a very pretty movie that is not realistic even a little.
You don't have to go to Egypt to make this movie.
No. But he walks in through the big doors of the saloon with a gun pointed at everybody.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of Action Poirot. So he's doing his entire reveal while he has them all at gunpoint.
Sure.
And then he does the reveal. Like, he gets to say exactly how everything
Jackie
happened.
and Simon were in it together and blah, blah, blah. And then they shoot each other.
They shoot each other. This was lame.
Yeah.
I really didn't like the way they shot each other. They embrace, and she shoots Simon through the back, pointing the gun at herself.
Yeah.
And one bullet takes out both of them. Like they're Indiana Jones and 5 Nazis or something like that.
I don't know if that's possible.
It didn't feel possible.
Not with a 22.
No, this is what I'm saying.
It's I say that like I know anything about guns.
No. But like this is what I'm about to say. Like, it's not about realism.
Yeah.
It's about plausibility.
Yeah.
And it feels implausible.
Well, I'm just saying, if you make such a big deal about what kind of gun it is and how it's a very, very small caliber gun, and then you expect me to believe that much like the Kennedy assassination, there was a magic bullet that went through 2 people. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it could do that.
There's one little part of the reveal that I also didn't like. And this is more about like knowing the plot already. Because it's weird that they took such care to mix things up in a way where I couldn't see what was coming, because even though I already knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought. There is this one moment where Euphemia, Book's mom, she's a painter. And there's literally a moment where she goes, "Has anybody seen my red paint? I can't find my red paint anywhere." And like, that's a huge part of the book, is that Simon took red nail polish and that's how he pretended that his leg was bleeding and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, cool.
Red paint.
At least I know where the red paint got to. And then during the reveal, of course, Poirot, how clever is Poirot? He reveals that the red paint is what Simon used. He even throws in a thing about how Simon was mad that Lynette's nail polish got left at the hotel when they got on the boat, because that's the original plot, that he was going to use the nail polish for it.
A little bit stupid.
Like, it's a little stupid, but I thought it was a little clever. But it was annoying to see that the paint was clearly what he was going to use.
Yeah.
And then we get to the end, and he's got his moment where he is waiting, presumably to talk to Salome, and he's got no mustache and the scars on his face.
And maybe they'll make out.
I mean, you already kind of talked about it in terms of describing it. How did you feel about this ending? Because I would imagine, I haven't seen specifically, I would imagine this ending is pretty controversial among people who really like Poirot.
I thought it was great.
Agreed.
I really like it, and I hope it leads us to a 3rd movie.
Well, there is going to be a 3rd one.
Yeah.
Even though this one didn't do amazingly. But I think everyone's blaming that on COVID, and also the fact that Armie Hammer and Letitia Wright are in it.
Sure.
Like,
great.
Among a number of other things.
So what story are they doing for the 3rd one?
They have not said.
Ooh.
They have said it's going to be tonally different than the other 2, and it's going to be one of the lesser known Christie stories.
Fascinating.
Which I'm kind of excited about.
That's
but
exciting.
Kenneth Branagh has gone on record too to say things that I thought were really interesting about how, like, there's no reason that they shouldn't do like Marple movies too, and have them tie in with these. Like, there's no reason that couldn't happen either. And I just am excited about the whole thing because Kenneth Branagh Man,
if he's going to be the interpreter of Agatha Christie for our age, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too.
Yep.
All right, you want to go back and do some quadrants?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, 1978. Do you think they cared about the source material?
No,
Do you?
not really.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think Anthony Schaefer cared about the source material?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I really don't.
I mean,
It was not I don't think so. I think they said, "Do you want to come and write the script?" And he was like, "Sure."
Hard disagree. I'm only going to disagree because I know that he was really into mysteries.
Okay.
And that was like a big thing that he wrote. I can't imagine that someone who was that into mysteries wouldn't care about an Agatha Christie story.
All right, fine.
I bet they cared.
Okay.
I don't think the producers cared,
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean.
but I think Anthony Schaefer cared.
All right.
Was it successful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. 2004, do you think they cared about the source material?
Deeply.
Yep. Do you think it was successful?
Yes.
As an episode of a TV
Sure.
show?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I do.
2019.
Yes.
Sorry, 2020. Sorry, 2021. Sorry, 2022. 2022's Death on the Nile. Do you think they cared about the source material?
Yes, I do.
Do you think it was successful?
Yes, I do.
Yes, god damn it,
Yes.
it was.
It was really good.
Fight us.
Fight me.
Well, this has been Adapter Parish. If you'd like to find us online, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AdaptCast. You can join our groups on Facebook and Goodreads, and you can also find and follow me on Letterboxd or listen to my other show, Multiplex Time Machine. If you have anything to say that's longer than a tweet, you can always send an email to adapterparishcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are 3 great ways you can do it. First, tell a friend. Second, a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice would be greatly appreciated. Third, we are on Patreon. This show will always be free, but if you become a patron, you can get access to Adapter Parish Plus, our bonus show that releases between episodes of this show, and our patron-only Slack community. It's been a lot of fun, and all the details are at patreon.com/adaptcast.
I am of an age to know what I like and what I do not like. What I like, I enjoy enormously. What I do not like, I cannot abide.
Is what you like Kenneth Branagh as Poirot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.